What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on? So, welcome to Wednesday's episode, where we talk about, or we do deep dives, right? We do a discussion. Monday, Tuesday are topics. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, and all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from theregister.com, written by Brandon Vigliarolo. And the title of this one, it looks like it's more of a quote than a title. It is a title of the article, but it's a quote. It says, "I tried hard, but didn't fix all of cybersecurity," admits outgoing U.S. National Cyber Director. So the U.S. National Cyber Director, Harry Coker, says more work is needed, right? So he's the outgoing Office of the National Cyber Director, and he said he's talking about the work that he did, and he's telling the incoming, his successor, whoever that may be, there's a lot of work to still do, right? So he's like, don't rest on what we did here. There is a lot more work that needs to be done. But he talked about this while speaking to the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, right? So he's out there saying, he's like, hey, in the last 4 years, he says, we fought fires, taken a proactive posture defending cyberspace, brought greater coherence to federal and global efforts, gotten tech companies to step up on cybersecurity, which we also alluded to as well, right? When we talked about the cyber trust mark that's going to be out there in 2025 that you're going to see more of. So that's one of the initiatives that they kind of got behind. And they talked about getting on some of the problems that have crippled the ability to stay secure in the cybersecurity arena, right? So the fact that for the last 4 years, I think he's the second one that's been in this position. I don't think he's the first. I think he was the second one, but it has been a lot going on. And we've talked about this numerous times, right? Like with COVID, having people doing a lot of work from home and using more IT devices is one of those things where these ransomware gangs and these cyber threat actors were taking advantage, right? They're like, we know people aren't doing what they need to do, and they were getting it in. They were making money in the billions, right? Like we've talked about this before on the show. But again, he's talking about how they've made progress, right? But there's things that still need to be done. And there was something he said in here that kind of struck me, right? So he talks about the work that they've done here, and he talks about cash. They bring up in the article, cash keep flowing to some of these big companies that have had some things that have happened that have been big news recently, right? So he talks about the Verizons and the Microsofts and how the cash keeps going to it. And I'm like, well, I mean, I get it, I understand, but like when it comes to using those companies, they are able to support what is needed through the DoD. That's a big machine, right? So you gotta be able to support what is needed from your customer, but you also have to be able to provide it, right? Like it can't be one of those things where they're waiting on you to do something, right? When it comes to your Verizons and your Microsofts, these are big machines, right? So the hope is that they learn their lesson from the things that have been going on, and that's been happening to them, you know what I mean? So sad to see him go, because I know there's been good work that's been going on out there, right? But he talks more about talking to state and local government leaders, and he talks about how they talk about needing more cyber talent, right? And that's something we always talk about as well. Like you need the people in the positions to be able to help when it comes to these cybersecurity threats that are out there, right? So he's had some successes. He's been there through a troubling time, you know what I mean? But he's on his way out the door, and he just wants to make it known to his successor, hey, there is more work to do. Don't rest on your laurels.
Right.
Stay on top of the things that are happening. And as each day that goes by, right, like we know the cybersecurity threats that are out there are getting more advanced, right, especially with the advancement of AI and things of that nature. So it's crazy. I was just watching I think it was a Gatorade commercial the other day, and at the end of it, it was Michael Jordan, but it was a de-aged Michael Jordan. And I think he said something like, "Is it in you?" or something like that. Like it was a young Mike, like he's sweating. You know how the Gatorade does the ones where they're sweating, and it's like, but I was like, that's AI, because the eyes still looked a little funny, right? So I was like, okay, that's AI. I'm pretty sure Mike didn't stand there and do that. They probably have it in his contract that he uses his likeness or stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure it was Gatorade, but it had some current athletes, and then it was a young Mike, like, is it in you or something like that? And I was like, dang. I was like, AI is everywhere. Like you've seen it to where Coca-Cola caught heat, right? Because they did that AI commercial that they had with like the trucks running and the polar bears and stuff like that. And it got some people pretty upset. But yeah, this guy's stepping down. He wants his successor to know, hey, I tried hard, didn't fix everything, but I need you guys to stay on top of it, right? Because there's more work needed. But Ryan, what's your thoughts?
No, I agree, and he will absolutely be missed. He has a storied background, right? Like, so when you look at his, I went to Wikipedia, right, to pull up his bio, and so he was a Navy officer for 20 years. He graduated from the Naval Postgraduate School. Then he went and he worked at the CIA for 17 years, and then from there he became the executive director of the NSA. So he was there from 2017 to 2019, and then he became the national cyber director. So like, this guy is he's a powerhouse when it comes to intelligence and information, right? So he knows the things that people can't be told, right? And he's able then to direct our cyber, I guess our
Priorities
priorities.
based
Yeah,
on
there
that.
you
Yeah.
go. From there. So hopefully his successor, which is right now he's preceded by Drainan Dudley. Hopefully he is just as good. I haven't looked into him yet. There's no link directly from him, so I had to search him up.
So they do know who the next guy is. I didn't think he knew who it
Well,
was. Like
so
really.
that's who's acting. So maybe he's just
Okay,
covering
gotcha.
down until the new
Okay.
administration comes in. But yeah, hopefully they pass on some really good information and keep it rolling. Because in that position, right, to have such a high position that controls so many departments underneath it, like you need someone who really understands cyber and understands national security, and they can blend the two in order to make sure that Americans are safe, as well as our priorities and our initiatives around the globe are kind of ordered correctly, right? So that way we can stay dominant because China's coming for us. Russia is obviously beating up the Ukraine and some of that's spilling over into the EU. You have Syria and all the what's going on with them currently, and then smaller actors from there, Iran and things of that nature. So there's a lot of near peers that are very adversarial right now. North Korea, right? Like they're over here also beating us up. So in order to protect our allies like Tibet, and you have oh man, Taiwan,
Taiwan. Yeah.
yeah, so on and so forth. In order to keep them safe from these very powerful threat actors around the globe, you definitely need somebody who is in the know. So hopefully, the next administration puts somebody who has some kind of sense in the seat, right? You know what I mean? Like someone who also comes from that type of lineage, who can bring all that information with them and keep it rolling. So
I mean, that's always the hope, right? Like we talked about it before. We hope the next administration is very much on top of these things, like the current one has been, right? But with this position, like when you see Office of the National, right? Like you have the ear of the president, right? Like if you're in a position that says Office of the and it's national, you're gonna be in the White House probably fairly often. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is an issue. If you're not talking to the president, it's at least the chief of staff, right? Who has the direct ear of the president, right? But yeah, I just hope it's somebody that's going to take it serious, man, because this is the way the world is now. Like, it's not one of those things where it's cyber's not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Whatever, whatever. Like, okay, well, you guys seem to care a lot when they had that information on Congress, when they had that breach there. All of a sudden, it was big news, right? So, I mean, just take it seriously. That's my hope, and I'm with you. Like somebody that I didn't look into his background like that. Like hearing that stuff, I'm like, wow, okay, that guy, yeah, he's been around.
yeah, he's
You
vetted
know what I
pretty
mean?
well. So I'm
Yeah.
sure his Senate hearing was probably like easy, right? He's like, yeah,
That's the hope, right? That's the hope, but you never know, right? Like there's a lot of gamesmanship going on in America right now. Yeah, get somebody in there that knows what they're doing in coming administration, right? Like make this something serious because it's only a matter of time, right? Especially if they start getting into those more upper echelon places, like if they're in the White House, if you have breaches at the White House and things of that nature. And if I'm being honest, we'd probably never hear about it, right? Or we would hear about it and be something we can't say anything about, right? Like depending on where you work. But yeah, it's gotta be taken more serious for sure. It can't be one of those things where it's just put somebody in there, put one of my friends in there that needs a job or something like that. No, don't do that, right? Office of the
right.
National, right? That's far-reaching effects. That's what I see from that, right? So
Yeah. And it's not to bash the oncoming administration because who's to say he would have stayed if uh, there was that switch between Biden and Harris, right? Like a lot of these people don't even if the incumbent is reelected, they don't stick around anyway, right? They do what they need to do and then they move on to something else. They're usually hired by big business, right? Like some powerful company will scoop these people up in order to be their, you know, executive or board member or things of that nature. So who's to say he would have stuck around anyway?
There's people in these positions, right? Like they'll offer their resignation just to do it, you know what I mean, and then get just on the off chance that they may get told, no, I want you to stay on, right? But it's just one of those things where they just offer it anyway, right? I think it's pretty standard up there for them to do that. But he's pretty sure. You say he's been in that position since 2019. Like he's done
I
his
think it
time.
was, yeah. Let me pull it back up. He's been in this position since I pull up so many tabs. So many tabs since we started talking. He took over the position in 2017.
Oh,
Or no,
2017.
I'm sorry, I'm lying. Assumed office December 15th, 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2023. All right, yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought he was the second one in the position. I was like, man, if it was that long ago, that's pretty good. I don't think he's the first, but he might have served the longest. But I don't know. But yeah, it's. Come on, folks. Let's get somebody in there that knows what they're doing.
So we'll see what the future holds. So we should hopefully figure this out relatively soon, right? Like they've probably already sat there because they do like a makeshift White House for the incumbent, and they figure out who these positions are going to be, and they start getting the ball rolling, kind of putting the feelers out to see how people feel before they get them all the way up to a Senate hearing. So I'm sure they've already decided whether they're going to keep them or not, or try to get them back on board, or they already have their own pick. So that should hopefully be coming out in the next couple of days before the change of command. I forget what it's called. I went military again. Inauguration. There it is. I was like, change of command. It works too, right? But definitely hit us up throughout the week. Monday and Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, our Ask a CISSP. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all the websites to go by our name. The other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. Hit me in person at RYRY Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me pretty much everywhere, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. Stay safe. Stay secure.